Scanning for audio.
Welcome to another Tin Dog podcast. Yes, everyone and their dog seems to have been to Gallifrey, and everyone and their dog seems to be releasing a podcast about how great it was. Well, I am jealous. I am also impressed by the convention, and I kind of wish I was there. But I wasn't. I was at home watching The Chase, and that's what I'll be talking about this time on the Tin Dog podcast.
The operation will proceed at once. The Doctor and the 3 humans must be destroyed. Annihilate.
Doctor, come quickly!
The Daleks! Get up! Oh! Daleks cannot be defeated. They are to be pursued through all eternity.
You mean what they say? They don't make idle threats. They're always in a chase.
Where are the time travelers?
We mustn't let our imaginations run away with us.
Good evening.
The Daleks are closing in on us.
We are locked in pursuit course.
Our next landing will be our battleground. We shall fight to the death.
Activate the robot.
The Daleks made it, exactly like you.
You will infiltrate and kill.
We're gonna get out of here.
Climb down 1,500 feet of cable.
Orders will be obeyed. The humans will be destroyed.
The Chase is number 2 in this lovely First Doctor box set. It's a 6-part story and marks the end of the time that Ian and Barbara will be spending with the First Doctor. It's the 3rd Dalek story, and was shot about a week after the end of the filming of the first Dalek movie. It's a 2-disc set, this story, as well as, of course, the 1 extra disc, which has got the Space Museum on, which I talked about last time. The 2nd disc is full of extras, and by full I truly mean full. And this is a great story. At least I always used to think so. I owned it as part of that rather nice Dalek tin that you could buy in 1993 on that wonderful format. I think it was called VHS. Terry Nation was bored of the Daleks. It says so in the information text at the bottom of the screen, and you can kind of pick that up from the storyline as well. You just know that Dennis Spooner spent quite a lot of time trying to make it work. The basic outline is this. The Daleks have decided, finally, to try and take out the Doctor. A lot of people, with that lovely retcon thing going on, have seen this as one of the first moves in the Time War. And if you wanted to make yourself a little Time War box set, you could have this, Genesis of the Daleks, and a host of stories from the new series. And that's only if you really want to. Yeah, I might do it myself, just so I can have some nice artwork. The story itself has a lot more in common with Nation's other work, The Keys of Marinus, in that it spends a large amount of its narrative dotting from place to place. It is, after all, a chase. Now, you knew the Daleks were going to come back. It was, after all, in the Radio Times. Some things never change. And, as is often classic with a Dalek story, you don't get the Daleks' first appearance until the end of the first episode. The TARDIS and crew using the time-space visualizer, a kind of TV that can see through space and time, arrive on this lovely little desert world. A desert world that used to be an ocean world, populated by fish people, or men wearing leotards and rubber hats, depending on how good the definition is on your TV screen. Played rather oddly by Hal Bennett, one of the best and most underrated actors in England. Let's face it, anyone who's ever watched the TV series Shelley knows that. Have I? Yes, I've wondered. Let's leave it there and talk about things like Maya beasts and Daleks falling into traps and wandering around beaches and, yes, the usual stuff. And yes, there is the scene where one Dalek quite clearly is picked up from the inside by the performer carrying, and yes, it's carried across the sand dunes, and we try not to think about it, because we all know Daleks hover and glide. They're not picked up like some really bad shopping. The sets may not wobble in this, but some of the characters actually do. It's a series, like I said, of set pieces. You've got your desert world with the Daleks and their time machine locator device. The Daleks themselves have got a time machine with such a distinctive sound that I've used it at the beginning of every Tin Dog podcast for the past 120 shows. Yes, that's the noise you hear at the beginning of every show. The Dalek time machine is odd. I always thought that some Daleks were actually hardwired into the machine to help with the time travel, but that's just fan nonsense, isn't it? All that actually happened was the Daleks in question had their bottom sections removed because they were props left over from the filming of the movies. Our heroes managed to escape one planet, head to another, to an undisclosed ship. Yes, there's a twist there, and let's face it, we all know where that's going. Daleks on board a sailing ship is a simply lovely image, something that I'm sure Big Finish will deal with at some point. Oh, and for the record, I still haven't actually heard back from them, but my hopes will always be high. We leave the unnamed ship, because let's face it, we don't want any spoilers around here, do we? We end up in the distant future of 1997, always at a Gothic mansion, and we end up on Mechanus. Oh, of course, I've missed one of the most important bits out completely. The Daleks happen to land on the Empire State Building. Yes, in one of the Doctor Who confidentials, Russell did say that what he thought was the Daleks had landed in the chase on the Empire State Building, made some mental notes of the location and how important the building was, and thus, when they travelled back in time later, they'd be able to use that information. It's curious, and again, another piece of retcon. Here we meet Peter Purvis, a man who would then later go on to audition to play James Bond, and even more later go on to become one of the most popular Blue Peter presenters and hosts of Crufts in England. He's also in charge of the commentary, just like on the Space Museum, but as he's actually in this story, he has a bit more to say. Crashing on, we end up on the planet Mechanus, a jungle world with big, round, beach ball style robot-y type aliens who go around going input, 10, rotate and all that nonsense. They have a pet human, played again by Peter Purvis, and his panda. Yes, the guy's an action hero, and yes, the design of the mechanoids is wonderful, as long as if you had an alien race who wanted to invade somewhere, it was a bit like a shopping centre. You can't recreate the Daleks, but you can try. And so it all goes in a big circle and everyone ends up escaping. But the end marks the end of time for Ian and Barbara. And we can bid them a fond, wonderful farewell as they get into a time machine that actually works and head back to Earth a couple of years later, after their original departure. And it's sad to see them go. On one of the extras on the disc, it's actually dealt with the career of Ian and Barbara. And you do begin to realise that they weren't just characterisations, they were actually the moral core of the show. And with them leaving, the Doctor has to become the new moral core. He has to take on that role. Other extras on the disc, as well as the commentary by Purvis, the cast and crew, is a particularly wonderful extra that's almost well worth getting the whole thing for. Raymond Cusack, a personal hero of mine, gets to visit the props buildings in the new TV series, which is all well and good, except Raymond is, and rightly so, one of the grumpiest men in the world. You'd be grumpy too if you'd brought in more money for the BBC than you'll ever see or even know about. If you'd made other people millionaires and all you ever got was 50 quid and a pat on the back, you'd be right to be grumpy. We find out why the new Daleks are slightly taller, just in order to be able to look Billy Piper in the eye. Why they couldn't have got it to crouch down is beyond me, but that's not important. We get to see Mike Tucker building the new Dalek. We get to see how they were evolved. We get to see some nice stories about merchandise, and basically it's a very, very nice, very nicely packed set indeed. And so these extra short Tin Dog podcasts draw to an end, as I basically say thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you next time when I'm discussing, well, the Time Monster. So until then, be seeing you.
Only one thing stands between me and complete power over the Earth, over the universe itself. And the one I bring here will show me how to harness that power. Now, you watch that crystal.
Mighty Lord, exalted one, I hear and obey.
What on earth is going on?
Who is this?
My assistant. But Stuart's only 25.
25?
Yates, can you hear me? Yates, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Over!
You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.